introduce yourself, your job title, a little bit of a description maybe of what you've done getting up to this point?
All right. So my name is Michael Suits. I'm a middle school social studies teacher at Omaha Nation Public School, which is a really small, it's a K-12 school on a Native American reservation just south of Sioux City. So I teach sixth, seventh, and eighth graders. I teach civics. I teach world history, and I teach geography. I also had a chance to coach football. So I've worked with kids from grade 6 all the way to grade 12. Um, Originally, I'm from Lincoln, Nebraska. Went to Morningside, played football there for a year, kind of busted up my ankle, continued going to school there. And so I just graduated from Morningside this last May, so in 2019.
Nice.
And so this was my first year teaching. And it's been pretty wild the last couple of days, the last couple of weeks.
Talk to me a little bit about the day to day. I mean, being a new
Mhm.
teacher, obviously, the fall was very different than what we're experiencing now, but just
Yeah.
talk to us a little bit about what a traditional day to day experience would look like. And you can talk about balancing the coaching aspect with the teaching, but just walk us
Yeah.
through what it looks like for you.
Yeah. So day to day, usually get there about 7:45 in the morning. I'm making sure that I kind of have my classroom ready to go, have my learning targets posted up on the board, have all my materials, whether it's a worksheet or paper for the kids to do work on, or if they're using laptops, making sure those are all plugged in and ready to go for the kids so they're charged up. And usually my mornings, I have class from basically 8 o'clock until lunch, which is at 11:30. So I get to see sixth, seventh, and eighth graders in the morning, and that's really the heavy part of my day. And kids are coming in. We're doing. I have three different classes in the morning, so it's kind of being able to shift gears and get the kids ready going. Really, my biggest thing is trying to have something for them to do the second they walk in the door, so they don't start trying to mess around or anything as soon as they come in. But usually my mornings go pretty quick because I'm busy. Then I'll have my lunch and I have my planned period. And then I have another class in the afternoon and a couple interventions that I help do. Um, and usually in the fall when I had coaching, usually right after the bell would ring, I'd have to go get changed, get stuff ready for football, get down to practice. So I usually wasn't getting out of school till almost 7:30, 8 o'clock. So the fall, I had some pretty heavy days, and being a new teacher, that was a little bit of an adjustment. I had to really be prepared with what I was doing in school because I knew after school I was usually pretty busy until really later in the evening, and I was usually pretty beat by the end of the day. So trying to use my time wisely. Since football's been over, it's been a little bit easier to manage my time. I've had some more opportunities after school to work on things, so it's been good. I'm usually kind of somebody that's pretty flexible, so it's hasn't been horrible for me trying to do these different things. But I felt coming out of college, I was a lot more prepared than I really thought I was, and I think that's a credit to Morningside. They really helped prepare me for what I was going to be doing on a day to day basis.
That's great. Well, now, Michael, I'll be perfectly honest with you, man. I don't teach. I never have taught. I haven't grown
Yeah.
up around teachers. Talk to me a little bit about the planning process and the interventions that you mentioned.
Hmm.
What does that look like? I think that some students going into it, maybe they haven't gotten a chance to get into a classroom yet. They just
Yeah.
think about what they've interacted with their teachers. Give us a little bit behind the scenes.
Hmm. So really, a lot of the planning is going to be your lesson planning, trying to know each day, each class period, what exactly am I going to be doing with my students? What do I want them to be learning? By the end of the class, what is their goal? What should they have learned in the time that they're in my room? Because I only get them for 45 minutes. And so, really making sure I have the materials I need so that I'm not just up in the front of my room and my desk trying to find things. Like I'm ready to go. That way, the kids and we have the most time getting things done together. So, whether it's just organizing things in a sense that we can do things effectively. or just finding new resources that maybe the kids haven't used before, trying to keep class interesting. That's really a lot of the planning is the lesson planning, but there's also other things. We have a PD once a week, so making sure that my days are scheduled so that we can get to the PD and professional development. So I'm still learning too. Every week we have a little class for the teachers that we go to, just learning different things, whether it's different resources we can use in our classroom, things we can do to keep the school safer. So there's that every week. And then just for the interventions, our school, we have a really kind of a unique community with being on a reservation. A lot of our students really struggle to read, and so one of the interventions is a reading intervention. So at our school, every kid 6th to 8th grade is placed into a reading intervention that matches what their reading level is. So I have 6th graders that are at kind of the lowest level of readers. So they're currently reading between like a third and fourth grade level in 6th grade.
Wow.
And so what that intervention looks like is they come in. I have like a teacher book that I'm reading a script from that is basically just kind of hammering out different different sounds that words make, how you kind of read through a word, each syllable, and really just trying to help build these kids up so they can get to a point that they're reading at grade level. Um, Other intervention that I have is a math intervention. So the kids will come into my room at the end of the day and they are just working on different math skills that they're working on in their regular math class. So it just gives them a chance to have more practice using math and the different skills that they're learning outside of the classroom.
Yeah. Sounds like a lot of preparation and really trying to bring people up to the level that's necessary. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
really getting right into it and trying to elevate their education. And
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah. No, it's just, for me, I was not always the most organized person. I never really have been. So it just I really had to try and get out of my comfort zone and really like I need to do this if I want to be successful. And so once I got to that point where okay, this is just kind of the routine, it's been a lot easier, but definitely trying to get into that routine took a little bit of work.
yeah. No, I'm sure. And actually, Mike, you rolled transition right into my next question, which I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about some of the highlights of your day as well as some of the challenges. I mean, as a new teacher, I can imagine the extraordinary challenges, right? You were just talking about them of being more organized and things like that. Can you elaborate just a little bit on some of the highlights you've experienced this first year that get you
Yeah,
excited to wake up every day? And then some of the things that I think our first and second year students, or even those getting ready to graduate, should maybe think about as far as the challenges.
yeah. So definitely some of the highlights every day. The thing that makes me want to come back is just the kids like being at school. They like coming to my classroom, and it makes me feel like I want to be there. I mean, there's days where it's definitely tough. I mean, we have a lot of behavior issues in our school, but even the kids that have behavior issues, they can just melt your heart. They can do some of the sweetest things. They're some of the most generous kids I've ever met, and they come from a community and a background that it'd be so easy for them to be totally negative all the time. And just seeing them being positive with each other, being positive towards adults a lot of the time, it makes me want to come back and help these kids do something with their lives, because the community they come from is a really tough community. There's a lot of unemployment. There's a lot of drug abuse, a lot of alcohol abuse, and so I want to help these kids do whatever they want to do in life. I want them to be able to expand their horizons beyond community. I want them to be able to go make something of themselves. And so many of them have that potential to do it. I want them to help fulfill that potential that they have in themselves. And so that's really the biggest highlight for me is just getting to see those kids every day and be successful. But some of the challenges, like I said, I mean, they come from a really tough community. Well, I'd say maybe 60 to 70% of my kids don't live with their parents. Um,
Wow.
and so they live with whether it's grandparents, aunts, and uncles. And so helping these kids feel like they have a sense of family and things like that can be really challenging because I mean, I have 85 students that all have different needs and trying to be able to meet those needs can be really challenging on a day-to-day basis. And so I just try to make sure that I specifically talk to each one of my students every day, whether it's just a hi in the hallway or I stop and talk to them during class to see if they need any help, just so they feel like they're appreciated being at school. And so that's really the biggest challenge I think with my current position is just really helping these kids feel like they're part of something and are loved. And so that's every day, just trying to do that. And like I said, with the planning and things like that, that hasn't always been my strong suit. And so um, just one of the things that I really wanted to be conscious about going into this was making sure every day I have some time to sit down and make sure that I know what I'm going to do for each class period the next day, being organized. And a lot of that help with the lesson plans. I kind of have a plan for each period, but really just kind of going through it in my head, what that's going to look like. And once, as a beginning student or getting into education, like sometimes you don't always know what that looks like on a day-to-day basis or a period-to-period basis. What am I going to be doing? Um, so really, just the more you're around a classroom, the better. You seeing what the teacher's doing in between periods during those couple minutes. How are they getting ready? Um, and just the really the biggest thing is just the more you can be around it, whether it's in your practicums or if you're helping out during spring break or these breaks you get to be in a school, and just watch what the teachers are doing to get ready. That's I had a really good teacher for my student teaching, and she just really helped me learn how to kind of prepare, just whether it's the couple minutes in between class or using the whole 45 minutes of your plan period to get ready for whatever you have coming next.
Yeah. Wow, man. Yeah, I think that's great advice. And leads in, that next question that I had as far as what they could do to prepare. I think that you really kind of nailed on that as far as utilizing your time with spring break and in those practicums to learn from those teachers. Even like you said, I think sometimes we forget that even between the class periods, the valuable time, just the time management aspect of that. I want to, since you kind of answered that question, I want to transition a little bit. Talk to me how you chose middle school. If you've always kind of thought about that, or because I think some of these students might be like, "Oh, well, I want to coach high school kids, so I
Yeah.
better make sure that I'm teaching high school." Or, "No, I think elementary ed is going to be the route to go." Can you talk to me about maybe your experience at Morningside that helped you with that, or
Yep.
just in general how you came to that decision?
When I first came to Morningside, I wanted to coach high school sports, so I wanted to be a high school teacher. And I was terrified to teach in middle school. I did that was the last thing that I wanted to do. I did not want to go anywhere near middle school. And when I found out that one of my requirements is I had to have a practicum in a middle school, I was not really happy. I didn't want to go into it. I was scared. I didn't want to be around middle schoolers. I wanted to do high school. And so going into that middle school practicum, I was pretty nervous. But the more I was there, the more I realized how much I really enjoyed being there. I really enjoyed that experience. And so when I applied for the job that I have now, I was actually hired as our district hires like a full-time sub. And so this person was always at the school every day and they just are in different classrooms subbing. Um, and the place I have, the teacher had left kind of right before the year, and so they asked if I'd be willing to teach in the middle school. I said absolutely. It was something that I didn't think that I would like, but the more I was around it, the more it just really clicked for me, and I really enjoy it. And I don't think that I'd want to be anywhere else besides the middle school for right now. And I was still able to coach high school sports, which is something that I really wanted to do. And so I can still do that. And it's nice that we have a K-12 school so that I don't have to go to a different school or a different facility for football. It's all right there. But I really have just fallen in love with the middle school. And it's just something you have to experience before you can say what you really want, I think,
Yeah.
because before I experienced it, I did not want anything to do with it. And then after I was in middle school, I wouldn't want anything else.
Awesome. Great. Yeah, great advice. And I'm happy you're so excited, man, about what you're doing. That's a good
Yeah.
thing. The last question that I really have for you is just any advice I mean, you've
Mhm.
given some great tidbits and takeaways, I think, but any resources that would be important to students, especially if they're early on in their college career, or if they're looking at applying and kind of thinking about where they might want to go and classroom size or location. I mean, just any other pieces of advice while they're at Morningside, what they could be doing?
Yeah. So I think one of the biggest things that helped me really kind of be a successful teacher is I joined Residence Life. Residence Life on campus really helped show me how to just interact with people. Same with I joined student government, just learning how to interact with people. And when I came to college, I was such an introvert. I didn't like talking in front of class. I didn't like giving speeches or anything. And so I'm like, well, I don't know how I'm going to be a teacher. I can't even talk in front of people. I just, the more I practiced it and was in front of people giving presentations, practicing giving lessons, the easier it became. And now it's just like, I don't even think about it. Um, but just doing something in college to get you out of your comfort zone, interact with people that are outside of your friend group, outside of your sport, just doing something because residence life was, I knew maybe one person in residence life when I joined. So it was kind of just a big leap for me socially. And I think that was one of the biggest things that helped me just learn how to interact with people for professionally. Um, and same with student government, learning how to just interact with people, how to talk to people, how to understand what their needs are, how can you provide for those needs. And so that was really the biggest thing I think it did at Morningside. Um, as far as resources go, anybody in the education department, any of those professors, they're all great, great teachers that can help kind of guide you into the area that is going to fit you the best. Is I mean Morningside I think is hands down one of the best. I mean, obviously I'm biased because I graduated from there, but it was such a great experience for me, and like, it's helped shape my life after college so much that I can't be more thankful for the experience that I had while I was there.
Perfect. Well, Mike, I, as an alum, man, I feel you. I agree. But I'm glad that you had that experience, and I'm glad that you're happy, as a middle school teacher, kind of where you're at and with that subject matter. And I think you gave some really valuable advice to, our students today that maybe are thinking they want to work with kids and looking at different opportunities. So I thank you so much,
Yeah.
for
No.
taking the time. I hope you take care of yourself, and hopefully you can get back in that classroom soon.
Yeah, I hope so too. Thank you so much for having me.